Hello everyone, today we're going to be cooking a beurre rouge and a beurre blanc sauce, and these two are emulsion sauces and they don't vary that much besides what type of vinegar and what type of wine is being used. And for each of the wines, they're preferably dry wines that are supposed to be used in the recipe. And some key notes are that I am using an online recipe and I am having the measurements because I do not want to create too much sauce, which constitutes 1/2 stick of butter for each emulsion sauce. And I am going to be substituting heavy cream with whole milk, and I'm going to be substituting shallot with sweet onion, which are substitutes that I found that I can use online. Yeah, let's get started with what ingredients we're gonna be using today. Here are our ingredients. You can see I'm using 2 dry wines, one Sauvignon Blanc and one from a local Missouri winery. And there's the whole milk, and you can see that the white wine vinegar and the red wine vinegar are measured accordingly. And then I'm going to be adding rosemary as an extra aromatic. You can also add a bay leaf that you will later strain out. And our butter here has to be stored at a very cold temperature so that the sauce cooks right. And some key notes about the wine and vinegar that we're going to be using: they are very acidic, so they're going to add bright notes of acidity. And if you do not have a way to get wine, you can just use water and lemon juice, because the key factor is the acidity. And basically these help create the emulsion when they're reduced. And liquids have a tendency to minimize the surface area, and based on the sauce thickness, it is based on the amount of balls, and which are created when small balls of fat form slowly at first based on these liquids. And once the emulsifiers lower that surface tension, they allow the balls to stay intact. So a key note to keep in mind is also the temperature, because they may destroy proteins that either contribute to the emulsification of the sauces and factors that help stabilize the liquid phase. So let's get started. This one at a time, just because I do not have 2 saucepans, but I've got this simmering at a medium heat. So I have about 2 shallots worth of sweet onion inside of here. I have the rosemary. I have 1/2 cup of red wine that is very dry. And then I have the 1/2 tablespoon of red wine vinegar. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this kind of reduce for about 3 to 5 minutes until it actually reduces a lot. And this helps get the alcohol content out of the red wine so that basically anyone can eat it. And we'll get back when that's finished. So you can see that based on the lines right here, it's reduced a lot, and you want it to be kind of syrupy when it's reduced. So we're gonna leave that for about maybe 1 more minute, and then we're gonna decrease the temperature a little bit, add a splash of the milk, some salt and pepper to taste, and then we'll start adding the really solid butter at a low temperature, and I'll explain why we do this in a second. Now that we've added the splash of milk and the salt and pepper, I'm going to lower the temperature to low and then let it boil for about 1 minute, and then we'll start adding the butter. I have this on low heat now, and I've strained all the contents besides our mixture. And you want to keep this on a low heat, and I have butter that is really, really, really cold. And it's important to add the butter at a cold temperature so that the sauce doesn't separate. And we're keeping this at a low temperature because excess heat may cause proteins to coagulate and may lead to excess evaporation of the water phase. So we're gonna start adding the butter slowly, and you don't want to add it too fast. And I'm gonna take it off the heat if I see that it's having the potential to separate. So I will start doing that, and then we'll see what happens. After our first few pieces of butter, you can see you have to keep constantly stirring at this low heat so that it doesn't separate. and you can see that the color is getting lighter. So I'm just going to keep adding the butter pieces, about one piece at a time, until I'm only using half of this because the recipe I have called for a stick of butter, so I'm only using half a stick of butter for each sauce. It smells fantastic, and you can see how much the color has lightened up, and I just keep on stirring, and occasionally I'll take it off the heat if I see that it's smoking even in the slightest. And we're maintaining this low temperature, and I'm constantly stirring. I still want to keep it on the stove at a low temperature instead of just mixing it inside of a warm pan and taking it completely off the heat, is because you need to keep it warm even at lower temps, because as the surface tension increases, butter might solidify. So the fat crystals would rupture the emulsifier layer. So that's why you have to be very careful about what temperature you use, because you want to be in the in-between to keep this sauce completely together and emulsified. I've poured the sauce into a bowl, and we're going to keep it more at room temperature so that it stays warm while we quickly cook the beurre blanc. And I've got the same exact measurements here so that we can keep all the conditions the same, except for the different types of vinegar that we use and the different types of wine that we use. And I'm having this at a medium heat again to recreate those conditions. I have the rosemary, the same amount of sweet onion, and then we will be back when this starts to simmer down and reduce into a more syrupy texture. Why we're not refrigerating this or anything is because it's still hot. So if it remains more warm, it can be kept, because you don't want it to break. And to store in the, if you wanted to store in the fridge and you can see that starting to separate and break, what you can do is just add water when you reheat it. Some people like to add cream because it's a source of more emulsifiers, but there are many ways to basically make the sauce together again. In fact, I am also taking a wine class, and we learned that red wine has more of a full body, because during the winemaking process, white wine basically doesn't involve any sort of soaking of the grape skins, so which is called maceration. And then so what I am expecting out of this experiment is to like the red wine sauce more, just because red wine is more full, so I feel like it would taste just more flavorful, because that's also my personal preference when drinking the two. What I've done is I've added just a splash of milk. I've added the salt and pepper to taste, and I've put it on low heat right now. And then we're gonna slowly start adding the butter. As you can see, it's getting more cloudy because I'm adding more of that butter in, and I'm adding it at very, very slow intervals. So we don't want to put so much butter in that it's going to not emulsify correctly. Our butter sauce, after everything is done, you can see that it's a lot more colored and creamy than it was before, and thicker. So now that we've learned all about the science of these two sauces, let's go see which one tastes better. I've tried both of the sauces now, and I made some roasted potatoes just to go along with them. And I actually prefer the white sauce because I can taste a little bit more of the butter in it. But one thing for next time is I wish I used real heavy whipping cream, because I feel like it would have been even more thick. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned a lot in this video.